Good morning and welcome everyone. One moment while I get my guests up on the stage. I won't be a second, I'll just find them through the list of people on here. Feel free to let us know who you are and where you're from in the comments section, and because we'd love to know who we're talking to. Okay, I've invited Knight up on stage and I'm just waiting for Tom to jump on. Good morning, Louise. Good morning, Neil. Cool, Knight is up on stage. Hi Knight, how are you? Cool, and just invited Tom up. Cool. Hi everyone, good to see you coming along to today's webinar. Awesome. Cool. Hi Knight, hi Tom.
Hi.
Hello. Okay, I'll jump right into things. Awesome to see that everyone's jumping on this morning to our Relab webinar, all about how real estate agents can maintain their success in a slower market, especially what we're seeing in the current market. We're seeing a really interesting time at the moment, and I've got this quote from Charles Dickens that I think really sets the scene for today's webinar. So I'll just quickly read over that, but I think it highlights quite what we're seeing. The quote goes, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness, it was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity, it was the season of light, it was the season of darkness, it was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair." I just think that's a really just good description of what we're seeing. Is there's a lot of doom and gloom, particularly in the media at the moment over in New Zealand, and it highlights that although we're seeing a tough market at the moment, you can really make do of what you have, and with the right skills and knowledge, you can really make something of yourself. Cool. So plenty of people saying hi this morning. Awesome. With that being said, we thought it was a really great time to invite Tom Panos to today's webinar. I'm sure most of the audience will be familiar with Tom. He's an Australasian real estate coach and trainer and provides some really solid, no-frills advice for agents. And here at Relab, we've been keeping a close eye on what he's been talking about because it is super relevant to even what we're seeing in New Zealand and what we're hearing in conversations with agents at the moment. So a huge thank you, Tom, for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Cool. And we're also joined here by Knight Howe, CEO and co-founder of Relab. And my name's Stacey. I'm the content and social media manager at Relab. Before we get into the chat, I'll just cover off a few webinar admin things. Today's webinar will be roughly 30 minutes of chat with 10 minutes at the end to answer any of your questions. Please pop your questions in the chat throughout the webinar and we'll get to them at the end. I highly recommend you ask all your questions because it'll be a really great opportunity. And also you will receive a recording of the webinar in your inbox once the webinar finishes up, just in case you can't stay for the full thing. And Lou from our team is monitoring the chat in case you've got any problems. And also just a little side note with this webinar, we do want you to come away with some really sound advice, but we're also here for a little bit of entertainment as well. We don't want to be telling you how to do your job, but rather aid in providing you with some new perspectives and ideas that you can bring and aid in your success. Cool. With that being said, I'll jump right into the questions with Tom. My first question for you is, can you start with a bit of background on what you've been seeing in the Australian market over the last 6 to 12 months, just for some context on what you're seeing and how it relates to New Zealand?
Okay, thank you so much, Stacey, and thank you to everyone that's joined from New Zealand. I'm seeing in the chat box there some good friends from New Zealand. Louise, Mike Nichols, so good to see you. I've been thinking about you the other day. Gary, how you going? Linda, hi to all the Kiwi agents watching this, presented to you today by, of course, Relab. And I just want to let you know, everyone, that as far as I'm concerned, we've just gone from nuts to normal. And that's the position you've got to take. We've gone from nuts to normal. We've been on a freeway doing potentially 250 kilometers an hour. And then all of a sudden we've slowed up and we're doing, 130, 120 Ks an hour. and we're comparing to what it was like during the COVID period, which was a crazy period. But in fact, I have to say to you, we are moving to really what a normal real estate market is. And normal real estate is you got vendors here and you got buyers here. That is normal real estate. It's not normal to have the vendors coming on the market and selling their property in a day's time. And don't get me wrong, I realize we have headwinds that are hitting us, whereas we've come from having headwinds behind us, supporting us. I understand that. But what I will say is this, and going off that quick poem that Stacey just read, there's a great saying, when the tide goes out, that's when you're going to work out who's been swimming with their swimmers on and who's been swimming naked. And a lot of fake agents are being exposed in this market, right? So what I'm seeing is this, real estate agents that know how to list by not overpricing, but actually selling a good process are doing okay. Real estate agents have got the ability to tell vendors what they need to hear, not what they'd like to hear, are doing okay. So you need to be able to have good, strong, crucial conversations. And you are going to have to learn how to deliver bad news in a positive way. That is something you're going to have to get really good at. In addition to that, let me just say that what I am seeing is that real estate agents that are very vendor management oriented, that are speaking to their current clients on a regular basis, probably a touch point every day. Stacey, those agents, they're doing fine because there is still buyer inquiry there. It might not be nowhere near what it used to be, but as they say, when you adjust the price on a property, a magical buyer always appears. There is always a buyer at the right price. So what am I seeing in summary? Last 6 to 12 months in real estate, Stacey, is this. Real estate agents that are highly skilled, capable, and have accepted that they're in for headwinds, they're doing fine. They might not be doing great, but they're doing okay. Real estate agents who are unskilled, who have been riding the wave of the market and haven't actually been improving their own skill set, they're the ones that are struggling at the moment, Stacey. Yeah.
Cool. And are you seeing any difference into what's happening with the higher end property market versus the average to lower end property market? Like we are seeing that a bit in New Zealand, where there's quite a difference in the price drop in different markets.
So what are you seeing? Is it stronger at the higher end?
Yeah, there hasn't been much of a change in the higher market.
Yeah. So it's exactly the same in Australia. It's exactly the same in Australia. And it appears that the prestige end of the market, there is an abundance of buyers still lining up. They're ready to go. They've got money to spend. And because of inflation, where labor and materials have gone through the roof, and it's really expensive to renovate, what you're also seeing is high-end homes that have been brilliantly built that need no renovation at all. They've been totally unaffected by this market, Stacey. And the reason why is the average buyer knows if I'm going to go buy something that needs renovating, it's going to mean that I'm going to have to end up getting involved with the pressures of trying to find a builder, and then everything's going to go over budget because everyone knows right now that the cost of building and materials is at its all-time highest. So a lot of buyers are turning around and they're just saying, you know what, stuff it. I'll just buy something that's ready renovated. And that's why that end of the market is unaffected. In fact, what we're seeing is very clear. And that is, there is not one market. There is lots of sub-markets that are operating at the one time. You've got certain segments of the market that are struggling. Example, you might find that units, apartments, flats, lower price end, they're struggling. Then you end up having blocks of land that are a very big block of land. They're still being sought after because people know they're not building land anymore. Unrenovated houses that are in average conditions, they're being punished by this market. They're being punished. Unless they're priced right, they're not selling. Essentially what I'm saying is bad stock is not selling, good stock, everyone's on the good stock. So all the buyers have shifted and they're all fighting over the good ones. That's what we're seeing in the market.
Yeah, cool. And since the market has changed from seller's market to the buyer's market, can you take us through your top tips for agents when it comes to navigating a slower market?
So when you're navigating a slower market, so maybe if it's okay, Stacey, I'm going to run through. I've got a client in Australia called Kaloshi. Now, Kaloshi wrote 51 million in gross commission income last financial year. So July to June 2022, they did 50 million in fees. This is one real estate office. And what I want to do is just share with you maybe what are their 5 or 6 things that are non-negotiable in their business to try and navigate through these windy, bumpy roads that we're facing, if it's okay, Stacey.
Yeah, cool.
The first thing is they're running 2 auctions. They're not running away from auctions. Auction is becoming still the preferred method for them to sell business. And the reason why is without putting a deadline on a property, you often find it just sits on the market and nothing happens. Whereas with a property that's got an auction deadline, it's a call to action. It's sort of saying to the market, we need you to make a decision by this day, because after that, this property might not be available. So you've got all these eyeballs that are focused on a one property for a 4-week period. The second reason why they're running to auctions, and what the good agents are doing in Australia right now and using auction, is that when a property gets sold at auction, there's no cooling off period. So one of the problems, Jasmine, one of the problems at the moment we're having, Stacey, is that the people make an offer, it gets accepted, and then they start getting cold feet. They're getting buyer's remorse because they're reading in the media, the market's dropping, interest rates are going up, property prices are collapsing, and they get scared and they pull out of the sale. And this is called, in Australia, we call it rescissions. So I have to say to you, if you want to reduce rescissions, use the auction system, because when the hammer drops, that property's sold, right? The third reason why they're moving to auctions is that auctions allow you to create vendor management in a very compressed period at a high level. So essentially, if you've got an owner that was thinking their home was worth $1 million, but it's only worth 900, the auction process will help them accept the reality of the market far quicker. It'll do it in 4 weeks and it won't do it in 4 months. So days on market is an important key performance indicator in our business. And we clearly know that auction properties, even if they don't sell at auction, this is very important, even if they don't sell at auction, have still got a lower days on market than a for sale property, right? So if you were to use 2 weeks after auction as the date that you're going to use as the final whistle to see what's got a better success rate, auctions always beat for sales. So rule number 1, Kiwi agents, is this: run to auctions, don't run away from auctions in this market. Number 2, you're going to have to become comfortable being uncomfortable, having uncomfortable conversations. Right now, I'm letting you know that your vendors need you to tell them the damn truth, right? They don't want to. Look, I use a sentence, Stacey, that helps me have all my hard conversations with clients. And that is this: I might hurt you with the truth, Mr. Client, but I'm never going to comfort you with a lie. And I think that every agent watching this has to learn how to deliver bad news in a good way. Maybe I'll rephrase that. You're going to have to learn how to deliver bad news in a positive way. You're going to have to deliver that in a positive way, because I have to say to you that most vendors are going to want more for their home than what it's worth. And your job as an agent is help to get that vendor accept the reality of the marketplace. So you've got to detach emotionally, and you've got to stop trying to protect vendors and their price. There are some agents out there that think that they've got this superpower that's going to allow them to sort of just click their fingers and actually control the market. Markets are markets. They've got a brain of their own, right? You can't control a market. And I have so many agents, Stacey, like I do auctions myself, and I'll go to an auction and the agent will say to me, Tommy, we got to do the right thing by these people. They're very nice people. And I'll just stare at them and I'll say, what are you trying to say? That the next people that we're going to go auction aren't as nice, so we don't have to do a proper job for them? What are you trying to say? We do our best for every client, and our best is to put them through the process and to tell vendors exactly what the market's saying in feedback. And then the vendors can make a decision on what they're going to do based on the advice we're giving them from the buyer intel. So you've got to work really, really hard at having good, crucial conversations, but work hard on the problem and soft on the people. Don't ever forget that. If you ever go see a doctor's going to go off and say, here, let's have a look at the x-ray. There you go. You've got a fracture there, and we need to actually address that there. They don't sit there and say, oh, wow, you got a broken leg, right? They're actually using data, and they're using a third point, and they're using references, and they're using, information that they've received. So really, x-ray is basically, in real estate, is basically a comparable market analysis of what the market's doing. And that's what you do as an agent. The third thing I'm going to say, Stacey, that the best agents are doing in Australia right now is that they are giving their vendors BIW, best in the world service. No vendor is ever going to complain that I was overserviced by my agent. They just overserviced me. They don't complain about overservicing. So what does that look like? Every listing on the market in New Zealand needs the following. Number one, you need that client to get a weekly written report by Monday afternoon. Once a week, a written report on what happened in the last 7 days in reference to their property. Number two, they need every Tuesday to have a vendor meeting where you actually pretty much are summarizing what was said in the letter. But you need to have that, preferably eyeball to eyeball, face to face, belly to belly. There is nothing more powerful than once a week having a vendor meeting. Now, if you can't physically see them, you do a video call. If you can't do a video call, you do a phone call. But you need to be speaking to your client. The third thing is you need to make sure that you're getting offers. You've got to get offers from buyers and be giving those to the vendors. And the reason why is there's a saying, low offers, they blame the market. No offers, they blame the agent. I'm going to repeat that. Low offers, they blame the market. No offers, they blame the agent. So you're going to have to get offers. And the fastest way to get offers is to simply ask for them. Ask buyers for offers. Simple things like this. Mr. Buyer, can I ask you, what price on a contract would represent good value for you on this one? Or Mr. Client, based on what you've seen so far, what's the number that would excite you on this property? All I'm saying, Stacey, is you need to try and extract offers, even if they're low, because offers shape the expectation a vendor's going to have on their property. And the last one, Stacey, I'm going to focus on what the best agents are doing at the moment. They're doubling down on buyer management. They're making sure now that they're allocating time on working with what I call a hot 25 buyer list. I'm going to give everyone on this call 5 or 6 questions that you must ask every buyer, because you've got to qualify and make sure you're working with high probability buyers. Let's go through the questions. Question number 1, how long have you been looking? Important question. Not many buyers will buy a home on the first day that they're looking. So what you're trying to do is to find out, where are they in the cycle of purchasing? Are they simply beginning the search where they're collecting information, or are they well advanced into the search and they're ready to make an offer? So how long have you been looking is your first question. Your second question is, have you bid on anything yet? Important question, because if they've bid on something, they're a high probability buyer. They were ready to sign a contract if they were successful. So if you find a buyer that has been an unsuccessful bidder, you stick to them like a stamp sticks on an envelope. You don't let them go in this market. Number 3, you've got to ask buyers, have you made any offers so far? Any buyer that's made offers is a high probability buyer. And in this market, Stacey, we need to be working with buyers that are going to be making decisions. And I know what many of the agents have done in the last 1 or 2 years. They stopped worrying about buyers because the market was putting the deals together. I know what it was like. Fear of missing out was doing all the sales for you. But guess what, team? That's gone. Fear of missing out has been replaced by fear of overpaying. Buyers are scared that they're going to pay a price today, and in 3 months' time, the property's going to be worth less. And that's why I'm saying, if you find a hot buyer that needs to buy, you stick with them. The next question is, what's the best home you've seen so far? I love that question, because sometimes buyers can't articulate what they want, but when they tell you the home they've liked, you can work out as an agent the things that they're into. The next question is, if you like that home so much, why didn't you buy it? Good question. What's stopping you, if you found a house you like, from moving to the next step? Then, the last question, and I'd like you all to brain tattoo this question and to use your own tone, your own body language on asking it. Mr. Buyer, or Mrs. Buyer, or Ms. Buyer. If we found a home that you absolutely adored today, is there any reason why you couldn't move forward? This question is cutting through the crap. If they turn around and say, oh yes, we couldn't buy it because we haven't put our home on the market yet and we need to sell that, well, that's useful to know. That's useful to know before you go off and spend 3 hours driving them around, showing them property. And it actually is a good question to ask, because it might give you a listing opportunity. And many people, don't ever forget it, one of the biggest source of your listings team is going to be working buyers, because many buyers already own real estate. In fact, I would go to your database system, your CRM, and I would create a category called buyers who own real estate. They're gold. Not only are they a potential sale, but they're also a likely listing if you service these people well. So, Stacey, they're probably the things that the best agents at the moment are doing to cope with this market. They're highly intelligent in the way they're showing property too. If they've got an appointment at a property at 4 o'clock, they'll make sure they've lined up another buyer to be at the property at 4:15, because you want to create social proof. You want to create competitive pressure. And please don't forget, team, what do we do in real estate? We're competition creators. That's what we do in our business. We create competition. We get paid for creating urgency, even when there's no urgency in the market. Ask yourself this question today. Are you an order taker or are you a deal maker? Because I've got to say to you, if you're an order taker, you're going to get devastated by this market. It's very unforgiving. Stacey, that's probably the main things I've noticed. But I have to say, unfortunately, gang, you still got to bring the listings in. And I know that it's getting easier to list property at the moment because we've moved from a high absorption market to a low absorption market, and we're about to hit spring. And spring, we know we get an influx of listings. And I've got to say to you, my friends, that in spring, we're going to be in a situation where we're going to have an oversupply of stock. I've got to say to you, sell in isolation, not in competition. If you're a vendor, you got to get your vendors and tell them they should have been selling in August. They shouldn't be selling in spring. They're going to have a lot more competition. But Stacey, you've got to keep prospecting. And the reason why is the list to sell ratio is changing. The list to sell ratio is changing. Not every property that's listed gets sold now. They expire, they get withdrawn, the owners decide to keep it. And geez, I've got a good fan here, Mike Nickel. He keeps telling people, if you're not following Tom on Instagram or a member of his coaching, just do it today. I love it. I love it when you've got fans there. He's such a great, by the way, he's such a great agent. Good to see you all coming on, Craig from LJ Hooker, Louise, good to see you. But Stacey, they're probably the main things. I suppose what I'm saying is go pro, make the decision to go pro in this market.
Yeah, fantastic. Knight, is your sound working? I think you're trying to...
Yeah, I think Knight is frozen on my screen.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, I can't hear him, but I can see he's trying to talk.
Well, he's absolutely frozen on my screen.
Oh no. Okay, I'll move over to one of my other questions, see if he can fix his technical issues. I like how you talk often in your Instagram and Facebook videos a lot about health and well-being. Where do you see health and well-being making a difference to an agent's overall success?
Okay, so for the people that are watching this live, or people are watching this when they've received the email link from Relab, I want to let you know that I can speak about this subject from a position of strength, right? I've been working in real estate for 35 years. This is my 36th year. Out of the 36 years, Stacey, I've also had cancer for 17 of those 36 years. So pretty much half the time, I've had an ongoing battle with lymphatic cancer. But I'm pleased to let you know, as we speak right now, I'm in total remission, and I've got what is called NED, no evidence of disease. So there are 3 times, I've had cancer 3 times, and I've had cancer treatment, obviously, for 3 times. And the cancer treatment involved chemotherapy, radiation, stem cell, antibody trials, you name it. In fact, I've been one of the strugglers with long COVID, though, thank God, that seems to have resolved itself in recent times because I was immune compromised. But essentially, real estate, I'm telling you again, you're going to go from the heights of exhilaration to the depths of depression in 24 hours. You are the product in real estate. You've got to work harder on yourself than the job. You are the job. You're the product. It's too hard. It's too hard to be listing and selling real estate and having chemotherapy, obviously. It's too hard to be listing and selling real estate and having low levels of energy. It's too hard to be listing and selling real estate and making, an impact in your marketplace, but at the same time suffering depression or anxiety. So I suppose what I'm saying is you've got to make health an absolute priority. You've basically got to make sure that you're sleeping well, that you're eating well, and that you're moving well. I'm going to repeat that again. The 3 non-negotiables. You've got to sleep well, you've got to eat well, and you've got to exercise well. I find if you do those 3 things, you're allowing yourself to have a long, sustainable life in real estate. Because whilst we're not digging holes or collecting garbage or working as a chef hand that can be really physically draining, I tell you what we are doing. We are on an emotional roller coaster ride every day. Think about it, team. You wake up on the first day of every month and there's a gun pointing to the back of your head saying, get listings or you won't eat. It takes a special person to be able to handle that. The ability that there's no certainty in your income. And that's why I say everyone that's watching this in New Zealand, please make sure that you make health a bigger priority than your work, because health is wealth. That's my view on it. And it's good to see that we've got Knight back on.
Oh, hi. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. Thanks very much, Tom and Stacey. Hey, I've got a question. If I'm a new real estate agent who joined the market last year, right? I've sold maybe 1 or 2 properties last year because FOMO helped me sold it. This year, I've got no database, no profile, no listings. Tom, what is your advice for an agent such as me?
Okay. So the first thing I'll say, Knight, is I would say, number one, my first bit of advice is tell your family or the people closest to your life that you're going to say goodbye to them for the next 12 months. You're going to essentially not be around as much for the next 12 months. And the reason why is you're going to have to work really long and hard, Knight, right? You're going to have to work really long and hard. And I'm talking about getting in early, working harder, and staying later. So number one, I would say sign in for hard work. Number two, I would say you've got to speak to more people in the market than any other competitor. You've got to make the phone your best friend, right? It's basically got to be sitting there like that, preferably maybe having a pair of AirPods. That'll be a smarter thing, but just having it glued to your ear. So I would say aim, Knight, to be having 20 quality conversations per day with people who own real estate. That's 100 a week. That's 400 a month. That works out to being 5,000 a year. Number three, what you want to do is do everything every day to build your personal brand. Every day, do things that are helping your brand become attractive. You want to become an attraction agent. There's a saying, it's not who you know, it's who knows you, right? So what you need to do is both with digital and traditional, build your personal brand. There is no more blind dates in business. People are Google stalking you all the time. They're going onto social media and they're doing a social media interview. So you've got to make sure that all your assets online are 10 out of 10. The next thing I would be doing to an agent that's only made 2 sales last year and has no database and really is at the start of their career, I would go out and I would door knock. And I know people hate it because, rejection is a challenging thing for most people. But do you realize by door knocking, you're actually meeting eyeball to eyeball with people in your community who is your audience, and all you want to do is start building a relationship. And I'm going to give everyone a big tip. Stop looking at your marketplace as prospects and start looking at them as students. When you look at your marketplace as students, you start educating them. You add more value to them. You're teaching them about what's happening in the market. When you're treating your audience as prospects, you're always selling to them. You use commission breath in all your communication, which is not a good thing. We don't like commission breath in real estate. And the last thing, Knight, I would say is make the decision to go pro and become highly trained. Learn every script or dialogue there is in the marketplace. Learn every strategy, every process. Learn every technique that agents are using to win market share. And the reason I say it is if you're watching this right now or listening to this, please remember, if you were good enough at rugby, you'd be playing for the All Blacks, but you're not, you're here. If you're good enough in the world of acting, you might have had your own Netflix special, but you wouldn't be here. The fact that you're here says to me, you're a real estate agent. Make the decision to be the best agent in your marketplace. You've got to go pro. You've got to make the decision on this. Are you interested in real estate or are you committed to real estate? They're the things I would say, Knight.
That is gold. That is absolutely gold. Tom. I remember watching one of your videos, either on Instagram or LinkedIn, where you were really, really sick earlier this year. You're in hospital, but you're still giving everyone just a message to say, look after yourself, your family, your health. So what drives you, Tom? Why do you do things that you do every day and trying to strive for excellence?
So that's change night. So I look at life night as having the morning of life and the afternoon of life. The morning of life is the first part of your working life. You're hungry, you're hustling, you're chasing, you're a closer, right? You're always on the hustle. And then you get to a certain stage where whatever your driver was, and for me, it was money. It was money because I don't come from money, but I wanted to have money because I thought to myself that money would actually make you happier. And that was the first half of life. The second half of life is you get the money and you realize I'm not going to run out now. But what actually happens is you start actually realizing that there's a longing for something better, for something more, that you're driven not necessarily by upgrading to the latest Tesla or, sitting at that next great restaurant, because all those things only give you short-term happiness. They're good when they're new. You're looking for something deeper. You're looking for something that is not short-term happy, but long-term joy. And for me, that has been about making an impact. So in the second half of my life, the afternoon of life, and I know it comes across a bit negative, night, afternoon, meaning, oh, shit, does that mean we're coming to the end of life? But listen, basic mathematics. I'm 55 years of age. I'm already halfway through my life. I'm probably 2/3 into my life with only a third to go. And I think what happens is when you reach the afternoon of life, you start looking for other things. And for me, it's, can I reduce the suffering of another person? Can I actually create something that will make life better for another person? And the way life has fallen, whether it's been intentional or it's been an accident, all I've got to say to you, it's real estate that I've ended up falling into, real estate training. And that's why when you said you saw that message out of hospital, when I was going in to get a bronchoscopy into my lungs, because I've struggled with I copped COVID 2 times in 4 weeks, and I had the Delta strain and the Omicron strain in a 4-week period, and that had an impact in my lungs. So when I was sitting there shooting that video, it was a constant reminder to everyone, including myself, that, hey, listen, bad things do happen, tough times do happen, but your current situation is not your final destination. Look after your health. Hold on. I think a lot of the messages that I was trying to sort of suggest by that post is that the highest form of wealth is your health. So don't compromise that on your journey to becoming wealthy in real estate, I think that's the message, but that's what drives me. Drives me making an impact. Don't get me wrong. I still want to make an income, but I can make an income while I make an impact. It's possible,
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, but it's great. I'm looking at some of I'm looking at some of the people that have been on here, and it's good. You've got some very strong, prominent real estate agents in New Zealand. Stacey, probably, I'd love you to leave everyone with probably one other thing, and that is, you've got to learn to build an irresistible, unstoppable listing presentation if you want to survive in real estate. And the reason I say it is, if you're winning listings now by overpricing them, you're going to have a lot of problems, because you're going to become an antique store, not a real estate store. You're going to end up collecting all these listings. They're going to be sitting in your office and nothing is going to be selling.
I just comment, Tom, that's so true. And this is a real story. Me and my team, we presented, Relab and our data product to an agency recently. And when I was saying that our data actually helps you to tell the story of the market, which is going down, and you should present this as part of your appraisal, someone laughed at me saying that clearly you're not a real estate salesperson because this is how you lose listings, not win listings.
Right. So here's my Knight, here's my view. My view is the data driven agent is the agent that's going to win in this market, right? And the reason I say it is consumers are highly intelligent now. Long is gone the agent that's fast talking, high pressure, intimidating, looks like they've got the gift of the gab. And I'll tell you who people are attracted to. An agent that has got a very calm approach, that has got data that validates what they're saying, that is a problem solver, that is not being pushy and salesy, and is in fact a very good analyzer of information, providing that information to a client and saying, what this suggests is that we should be doing this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Make data your best friend. Make data your best friend. And in fact, that's a big strength for everyone on here. Because if you can't beat someone on experience, beat them on product knowledge, beat them on data. That's, and most importantly, beat them by out-caring. Out-care the competition. Out-care the competition.
People don't care what you know until they know how you care, or something
100%.
along the line.
Yep. There's a moment, Night, in the interaction where people just get the feeling with you. You know, I'm just reading here a couple of lines. I'm very mindful of the time with you guys and your people, so I'm just going to finish off on this. It says, David says, what's your favorite script when a purchaser doesn't budge on price? Market's on a downturn. Hey, listen, I had that, David, the other day. I said to the buyer, listen, you need to pay an extra $50,000 to buy it. He said no. And then I just said, well, no problems. I said, I want to thank you for your offer, and I want to thank you for your negotiations, because without you, we would not have got our vendor down from their hope to get price to a realistic price. And because of you, we're going to be able to sell this listing in the next couple of days. So I want to thank you so much. He just stared at me and he said, so what you're saying, you've used me to get your vendor down so someone else can buy it? I said, I don't mean that intentionally, but that is what has happened by default. And he ended up buying the property because he didn't want someone else to buy it.
Wow.
Oh, good.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you, Tom, for all your advice. I'm sure everyone learned a lot. I did myself, so thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm looking at my red battery. Thank you, Relab. Much appreciated. I'm looking at the red battery on my laptop, and it's sort of saying to me it has like seconds to go. So do you need me for anything else at the moment, or was that the end of our webinar?
That is all good. I'll wrap it up here, so you can pop off. Thank you so much for everyone for coming along. Thanks, Knight, and yeah, thanks, Tom, again. Cool.
Thanks very much. Have a good day, everyone.
Signing off.